Ross Cluver here with CCM Magazine, and we're talking with Keith Getty of the Gettys and Getty Music. How are you doing today?
Very good, Ross. Good to see you here during the week as well.
Yeah, enjoy it. So you've got a pretty busy week coming up in the next week.
Yeah, it's not boring. 75% of Americans are bored, apparently, according to a recent survey, and we are in the 25% next week. Definitely not bored. We've got the Sing conference here in town. We host between 9,000 and 10,000 leaders from around the world, over 50 nations here in town for that. And what we've tried to do this year, because this is our city and because it's a very special city, Nashville, we've really, the conference is really turning into its own little sort of festival as well. So we've got events at the Grand Ole Opry on Sunday night. We've got event at the Grand Ole Opry House. On Tuesday night, we've got a show at the Bridgestone Arena. And then we've got some private events in town or at the Hermitage Hotel for leaders for cultural leaders. And so I think in total we're about 15,000 people going to be here this year. So it's really exciting.
And then after this next coming week, you're pretty much going out right away with the Sing.
No, well, I get a little bit of a breather, and then that starts the end of September. So we get 4 weeks. I get 4 weeks to cuddle my girls, and then we hit the road.
All right, and then you do the Sing Christmas as well.
That's right, exactly.
So we get 12 or 17 dates for one, and then 12 with the other. So we get a pretty busy late fall.
Yeah. We do. I mean, I think really what my wife and I try to do is we never do more than 10 weeks touring a year, and it's more like about 8 weeks now. So we do about 8 weeks a year. So really, I mean, we consider ourselves fortunate that we can, have the opportunities that we have, and only be on the road 8 weeks a year. It's it's a privilege. I think it's a privilege, and we love it. And I say we're just excited to have everyone come to town next week, because that means we don't have to leave town.
Right.
Jimmy, so that's great.
So with the Sing conference and the Sing initiative, you started that about 2 years ago.
Right.
And you had your initial vision for what that was going to be. Has that vision evolved or adapted or changed in any way? And if so, how?
Foundationally, it hasn't. The idea was it was 500 years since Martin Luther brought congregational singing back. And Luther brought it back because he really believed that in the context of Europe being so anti-Christian at the time, that to be faithful believers, but to be strong believers and stand against the tide, you had to build deep believers through God's word. And you did that through the preaching and the singing of God's word. He didn't believe that music was an emotional response. He didn't believe that music was a PR tool to help build your megachurch offering. He didn't believe that it was something that wasn't that important because preaching is everything. No, quite the opposite. He believed that we sing the word to help us learn the faith. We preach the word. He always said that the Bible teachers open the word and explain it to us, but you carry it out of church through the songs. And so what we sing is so incredibly important. And so we wanted just to do a 500th anniversary kind of moratorium on how's congregational singing going, how's church worship, congregational worship going in our churches, and is it really where it should be? And so we brought together theologians, we brought together worship leaders, so we brought together creative artists from across the arts, and she said, look, and we would just have this conversation, and we were hoping to get 500 to 1,000 people the first year, and of course it was almost 4,000 in the end. The second year was 7.5. And this year, the conference itself is maxed at 9 because of capacity, but we've been able to, with the events, bring somewhere north of 13, possibly up to 15,000 this year. So.
Excellent. So you touched on the Reformation and kind of how Luther challenged people to look at singing and theology and even the artistry that went into those things. And you've said on your site how now more than since that time, we probably need some kind of that message or that thinking again. Can you explain that? And kind of what have you seen now when you're out dealing with people that...
I think it's mostly parallels with expansion. So today, for example, it's very exciting. You and I live in the world that the Bible is in more languages. There are Christians in more countries, and there are more Christians in the world than at any point in history, which is an incredible thing. And secondly, as you know as well as I do through the mediums that you work in here, that the opportunity to reach people is greater than it's ever been through the media, through all the multimedia formats. And the opportunities to reach people with Christianity or teach the Bible is bigger, but the challenges are also greater then, because the challenges for Christians around the world and the challenges that the media can send any message to us is very, very dangerous. And I think I live in a generation where the theology has been the theological understanding has been poor. in church worship. The average worship song, or the top worship songs that are sung today tend to focus on about 5% of the characteristics of God. Now, we couldn't have a relationship or a marriage with somebody who we understood 5% of, even if sometimes we think that. But so we need to grow deep believers. You know, I think about 75% of the great hymns talked about heaven, eternity, hell, the fact that we are eternal beings. Less than 5% of worship songs talk about that. Well, what does that tell you about what we're breeding in our churches? So it's a very dangerous thing. So I think that is part of it.
So you've seen some things in modern worship music that is maybe just a little too like looking for a hook and only a hook, versus what else are you seeing? Are you seeing anything that's encouraging you about what other people are doing with worship music other than what you and Kristen are doing in terms of incorporating that theology into music more?
Well, anytime someone can write a beautiful song that helps us understand God in a more deep and beautiful way, not like theological, like dry and boring, but in a deep and rich and beautiful way, then that's a good thing. You know, and that's such an important thing. You know, it's amazing, you know, many of the heresies throughout history, including what I would call the general heresy of narcissism of our generation, have really, I think, been fed by the worship, by what is sung. And so we have to be so very careful with it. And but not just that, it's important to sing songs that last. You know, we try to encourage people to understand the great hymns of our faith, because my grandfather, and I suspect if you have older Christian family or friends, these hymns that they sang through life sustained them. You know, through illness, through doubt, through tough times, through big decisions, through death. And but our generation aren't singing anything for 20 years. So what is that telling us about our generation when they get to 50 or 60, when they get cancer, when life takes a nasty turn? And we're seeing it even in the media in the last week, with young Christian leaders given positions at an early age, but not holding on to these things all the time. And so they discover something that shakes their faith, and they don't have a grounding to go to. And frankly, and I haven't read much about it, but the 8 articles that I've read, there's absolutely nothing that any of them have suggested as problems for Christianity that 10,000 other people haven't thought about before. Do you know what I mean? So the idea that they've discovered something, you know, new is actually comic. Do you know what I mean? It's that embarrassing. And they should be embarrassed to write it. But we live in a generation where with the theology, the theology is weak. We're not carrying songs that have a beauty that lasts. And thirdly, the sense of the whole church singing together. You know, the privilege when someone comes to your church in Nashville or Memphis or wherever you are and says, "What's the music like in our church?" I always say, the music's God's people singing. That's the holy bit. Do you know what I mean? If me playing the piano can help them sing better, then I'll do it. If it doesn't help them sing better, then it'll be better just singing along. Do you know what I mean? But those of us who are worship leaders or musicians, our role is to help the body of people sing. And so I think we have to ask some serious questions, both about the why of what we're doing, and then the application of what we're doing from the pastors who hand all this leadership over to inexperienced people. And again, a lot of it begins, Martin Luther believed it begins with the pastor. D.L. Moody believed it began with the pastor. Spurgeon believed it began with the pastor. You know, everyone from Calvin to Wesley, right across the theological spectrums, those pastors loved their church enough to care what they sang. Many of our pastors today don't love their congregation enough to be right in the middle of what the songs are singing. And that's a tragedy.
Interesting. So we've talked about sort of the quality and the importance of some meaning in the songs, but then you mentioned on the singing of those songs, and just it's not enough to have the songs. We've got to sing to each other. We've got to sing. This is a big part of what your Sing initiative is. So there's 2 points to this question. One is, what is it like for you? Do you think that do you see what your initiative kind of actually coming to fruition when you're on a tour and you've got the audience singing your songs along with you? And then what's it like when you're in an audience or in a congregation and someone is leading worship with a song you've written?
Well, Honestly, I wouldn't. You know, it's funny. I came to this town to introduce these hymns, and I think that was the right thing to do. But now that I'm in my 40s and old, you know, even our company has transitioned from being about our hymns to actually just hymns to carry for life. So whether they are songs that we write, whether they're songs that we publish, or whether they're great old hymns that we're championing, I think the need is to sing great hymns and sing them well. You know. We've got 4 little girls, as you know, and you know, so we try to make Sunday the highlight of our week. We don't go out Saturday nights, or rarely go out Saturday nights. We plan Sunday. Sunday morning is a treat. They know, the girls know they love to sing. We get to church early. We sit in the second row, and it is a highlight of our week. Do you know what I mean? We sing. So going to church and being part of God's family is the privilege. You know, whether the songs are mine or I play is absolutely nothing to do with it. In fact, Kristen and I have actually gone with the principle of during this season of little girls when they need our time, it's best we're with them. And actually, it's also best if they have to watch us on concert stages and being applauded, then they want to see us equally enthusiastic in the second or third row of church. Right. And that's so important. And so I think that's another thing. You know, we're working with pastors who are obviously engaged in church. We're working with worship leaders, but we're also working with creative artists. And there's a real danger with musicians that they kind of feel that the church owes them a favor. And the church owes them nothing. Do you mean they owe the church everything? Do you know what I mean? And so we need to be passionate about local church, and we need to be excited about being involved, and we need to show up early. We need to sing up, because we sing not because we like the song or because we feel like singing, and if we don't feel like it, then it'll be somehow inauthentic and this kind of narcissistic stupidity. No, we sing because we're part of God's family, and God has commanded us over 60 times directly in Scripture and 200 times indirectly with phrases like extol and exalt. He has commanded us to sing. So in other words, on a Sunday, it's my job to, if I'm sitting near you in Village Chapel, it's my job to sing out of love for you. So it's a representation of family in the same way as ultimately it's a representation of heaven, with every tribe, tongue, and nation and language together. So that's the excitement, and I think we get that in Village Chapel. Tommy does a beautiful. Absolutely. Tommy and Jim, you know, lead the church where it is the whole congregation singing with their might, and you get to hear the people singing. And so I think these things are all so important.
I know I personally enjoy it when it mixed in with a worship song, there is an older hymn, even if the hymn is done differently. And I know that Tommy does a good job of doing that.
But I think we got to think about this. I mean, I don't know about you, but when you go to we go to these events, and you go to these events too in your job, you know, somebody sings some song at the start, and I don't know, maybe some people, and the front 3 rows are bopping up and down, and everybody else is kind of disinterested. Then they do a second song, and nobody knows that. And then about 3 or 4 songs in, they sing something like "Holy, Holy, Holy," or "How Great Thou Art," or "My Hope is Built in Nothing Less," and suddenly everyone starts singing, and you're going, why didn't you start with this? Do you know what I mean? What on earth were you playing at for the first 15 minutes? You know, and these songs are, I mean, I love people to sing the best modern worship songs that they hear on the radio or whatever. I love that people write their own songs, but we need, every church what needs to have a canon of songs they're going to grow old with. You know, it's part of our creed as Christians. It's part of writing these truths in our people's hearts. You know, because I really do fear for this generation. You know, in 10, 20 years' time, you know, if, you know, as they grow old and they're not nourishing on hymns that they've known and carried with them for years. So that'll be my encouragement to everyone. Whatever your musical style, however much you do your own stuff, make sure you have a canon of songs that you're confident. Explain the wonder and the glory of Jesus, and that they can grow old with.